Hi, I'm Kristen Bry, video columnist with the Ideas Lab at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
And I'm J.R. Radcliffe, normally trending sports reporter at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
And this is MJS at the RNC, Day 2, taking you behind the scenes of all things happening downtown at the Fiserv and the Baird Center and UW Panther Arena, Milwaukee style.
Yeah, we're here at the Baird Center again in downtown Milwaukee, and we've gotten to see some things now. We've had a day.
Day 2. We've had a full day, and what a day that it was to kick it off.
We had Donald Trump, a sighting of Donald Trump. He did not speak at Fiserv Forum last night, but he did appear for the first time, bandage on his ear.
And he, at one point, when he seemed to be overwhelmed with emotion as far as hearing the speeches, hearing the chants. There was also an announcement of who his VP nomination is.
J.D. Vance, Ohio Senator, but as I'm sure everyone knows by now. So that was probably the highlight of the day. There were some politics things, and we'll touch on that.
We will touch on that, but some of the more Wisconsin things that happened. There was a cheese curd vendor at Convention Fest that brought 360 pounds of cheese.
Yes. How long would it take you to eat 360 pounds of cheese?
5 days.
Are you a cheese person?
5 days.
5 days. That's good. That's good. I think for me it'd have to be 6. It's tough. I don't know. If I say I'm not a cheese person, I might get in trouble, but it's not my favorite thing.
Pace yourself.
I would. Did you see the little schoolhouse that was out
I
there?
did not, but I want to take a picture with it.
Yes, it's a little
from Ripon.
Yeah, from Ripon, which claims itself as the birthplace of the Republican Party. They have a little schoolhouse that was a replica built for parades by high school kids at Ripon High School, I believe. So that is something you can see if you visit Ripon or if you're here. If you're here, yeah, you get to see that version as well.
There were protests. There were hundreds of people protesting outside the perimeter. Only 3 arrests. So that was pretty good as far as the protest, while a lot of people were there, was not disruptive, didn't erupt into any kind of violence, but everyone was very peaceful.
Yeah, and there was a debate over spotted cow versus Leinenkugels?
Yes, so apparently a reporter asked Ron Johnson his thoughts on spotted cow, and he said it's pretty good, but the owner is ultra-liberal. Leinenkugels is the conservative one.
Yeah, well, speaking of Ron Johnson, he actually got a chance to address the convention last night, some welcoming remarks, essentially, welcomed everybody to Milwaukee. Kind of interesting that there were some developments.
So he gave a speech last night, and apparently it wasn't the speech that he was supposed to deliver. So let's take a look at some of his remarks.
Today's Democrat agenda, their policies, are a clear and present danger to America, to our institutions, our values, and our people. Democrats have forgotten American families. They have abandoned the hardworking middle class. But with President Trump and Republicans, those forgotten Americans are forgotten no more.
So Ron Johnson's people, after the speech, told Lawrence Andrea, one of our reporters here, that was the wrong speech.
Okay.
That his final speech did not get uploaded to the teleprompter, and that was a previous version.
Okay.
And so on the one side, I totally sympathetic as far as once you're up there in front of thousands of people, you're not going to say that's the wrong speech and not read what's there. And on the other side, it's a little, I'm Ron Burgundy.
Which, it's funny. I want to ask you about that. So yes, in fairness to him, he wasn't also the only person who had trouble with the teleprompter last night. I believe Mike Johnson, Six Wire, the band, became very popular. Chris Kuhagen, one of our colleagues at the Journal-Sentinel, wrote a story about them and who they were because they became very popular last night. But okay, so the thing around Ron Johnson, the thing around everything in the Republican National Convention. So you did a video about this, about whether or not we can still, joke, have lighthearted moments in light of what happened in Pennsylvania a couple days ago. How do you feel about that now? I mean, I think maybe the tension's been broken a little bit now that we've seen Donald Trump in public and he's, greeting people to some degree. How, though, is it still a difficult needle to thread, you think, where we can kind of be lighthearted right now?
I think, at least for myself, tread lightly.
Sure.
I think there is, we are the media, we are also guests at an event, and I think being witness and having fun is there, but I don't necessarily think that is, I don't know, actually.
Yeah, it's tough, right?
Tough. It's tough to thread that needle because I think this is a serious event with serious implications, and there is also people walking around I saw a woman yesterday in a full homemade gown with Trump's face on it, America's comeback, and so there is pomp and circumstance and a show happening that is, I think, still ripe to highlight.
There is a lot going on here in the city of Milwaukee, and we highlighted some of that yesterday, but I wanted to go even a little bit deeper and spoke to one of my colleagues, Allison Dur, at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, to talk about what the city's role is. We've heard from Mayor Cavalier Johnson every morning thus far. We'll hear from him again tomorrow and the next day to kind of give an update of what we've seen, but wanted to get her take on how the government is interacting with the RNC and kind of what they're doing to put this show on. So here's my conversation with Allison Dur. Joined now by Allison Dur, city reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. She has covered Milwaukee tirelessly for several years, and this is an interesting thing being in the hard zone here where we are. There's obviously a lot of Secret Service, there's a lot of police, but I wonder what the city of Milwaukee's role is. Are they still calling some of the shots? What is their place in what's going on where we are right now?
So the Secret Service is actually in charge of the hard zone, which is a credentials-only zone around the main venues of the RNC. So we have the Baird Center, we have UW-Milwaukee Panther Arena, and then Pfizer Forum, where everything or most of the big events are taking place. All of those, in addition to some other locations, are also within this hard perimeter that is not really controlled by the city.
This feels like an elegant fit for the city of Milwaukee. Obviously, Democratic mayor, Democratic county executive, Democratic city, but far and away a Democratic city. So how has this been for them? It feels like it might be a little awkward to have a Republican National Convention in the heart of their city, and yet, they want the business, they want the exposure. How do you get the sense that has worked out at City Hall?
I think that you're definitely right.
Yeah.
This is a heavily Democratic city. It's a heavily Democratic, I guess the government is very much democratically controlled. However, the point that our elected leaders have made is that this is a really good opportunity for the city. It's an opportunity to put Milwaukee on a national stage. I think that they are pleased with what they've seen so far in terms of the, that exposure. We've seen the mayor have quite a few interviews with national outlets. We've seen other people, local people who have been interviewed as well. So I think that's something that they're looking at. That's something they're really excited about. I would also note that the protest that was scheduled for yesterday really went off without a hitch, and that was a big thing that the city was watching to kind of see how that went. It was hundreds of people with the Coalition to March on the RNC, and so I think that they're really pleased about that as well.
We are once again joined by Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel public investigator Tamia Folks, and we talked about some of the big highlights from yesterday's event. One of them was the naming of the vice presidential candidate in J.D. Vance. You actually got a chance to talk to a Wisconsin delegation representative in Derek Van Orden, so talk about that interview and we'll take a look at that in a second.
Yeah, so U.S. Congressman Derek Van Orden spoke with me yesterday and a group of other reporters about how he was feeling about J.D. Vance being picked for the vice presidential candidacy. Generally, he was really excited. He felt like he and Vance shared a lot of similarities, coming up from a more rural background, low income, and then eventually joining the military and moving into Congress. So he felt like he was going to be a strong representative candidate for a lot of people who haven't necessarily seen themselves in government prior, and generally was just really excited about that pick.
Awesome. All right, let's go to that video.
He left his home as a young man. He joined the military, served honorably, got married, had children, became a U.S. Senator, and now he's our VP pick. Within a single generation. And I've walked the same road. Abject rural poverty, single mother, broken home, joined the military as a young man, served my country honorably for 26 years. I'm married, my spouse is over here. We have 4 children, 11 grandchildren. I'm a member of Congress now, all within a single generation. And if you look at that, that's an expression of the American dream. It really is, and people are going to gravitate towards that. I represent the 3rd Congressional District of the state of Wisconsin. We're an agrarian district. A lot of people are living below the poverty line, and I get it. And J.D. Vance gets it. And I think that he's going to compliment President Trump exquisitely.
You also got a chance to talk to County Executive David Crowley yesterday. Tell me about that interview.
Yeah, definitely. So David Crowley primarily was talking about how the RNC brought a lot of financial benefits to the city of Milwaukee. Even though he kind of sides with the Democratic Party on most issues, he was saying that he was looking forward to seeing what financial benefits this event brings to the city. And it's really interesting because we're seeing kind of this dual storytelling of whether or not this will bring financial benefit to the city of Milwaukee. There are a lot of businesses, like in the 3rd Ward we saw yesterday, very desolate in the Milwaukee Public Market, on the streets over there. So there's certainly pockets of the city that aren't seeing that economic gain. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out this year.
Absolutely. So stay tuned. what are you going to do today?
Yeah, today I am going to go out and follow up with some of those businesses, see how people are feeling, and also, try to engage with some more representatives of this, this party that's here and talk to people about how they're feeling about this election. One of the things that was interesting about Crowley's conversation yesterday is kind of this general disengagement from younger voters, from people who are saying that they don't want to vote for either candidate. Seeing how both of the parties are trying to address that will be really interesting.
I totally agree. Any feelings on just the party of it all?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to be here. I think there's a lot of energy. I think this is going really fascinating for the city. There's, a lot of excitement on both sides in terms of people, I guess, re-engaging in politics. It seems like with every electoral season, it comes around to August, September time, the end of the summer, and people remember that we have an election coming up. So I think that this is just representative of that re-engagement right now.
So that's going to do it for day 2 for us, but obviously you got to stay tuned to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. We had so much coverage yesterday. You can find the things we talked about at the outset of this conversation, the 14 highlights from day 1 of the RNC. There's a big rundown there with a lot of great photos, video. Like I said yesterday, we have more than 50 reporters and journalists out at Pfizer Forum, around in the protest zones, at news conferences. We're telling you about traffic problems. So stay tuned to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and we'll be back again tomorrow.